Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Play Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion Part 3. My name is Eckohour, and as always, I will be the disembodied voice hosting this Let's Play. So in the last game, we suffered some heavy casualties from the pirates to our economy, really. All these are automated defense platforms. But our economy took a hit, but that didn't really seem to phase us. While that was going on, while we were holding them down here on this dead asteroid, our colonization fleet was flying around and colonizing these planets, making them our furthest borders, which
Reporting
is
in.
good stuff. Good stuff. We're kind of
We're
crystallizing our empire. So this game kind of follows the typical phases of a 4X franchise. It'll start out with the exploration franchise, which, as you saw, we sent out all of our scouts to take all these planets. We've detected each and every planet that we can in this system now. So until we research technology to go to other stars, we will not be able to see what's beyond our borders. But that's okay for right now. Right now we're going to crystallize. We're moving into the kind of stagnation phase of exploit. We're going to set our borders, build our defensive perimeter, and then focus on building up these planets. Our biggest thing we have to notice, if you look right down at the bottom right hand corner under allegiance, you'll see that this planet is at 80% allegiance. Each tick away from your capital planet, a planet will lose 10% allegiance to the capital. So for example, this one over here is 70% because it's 1, 2, 3 ticks away from
All
our
hands,
capital.
prepare for phase jump.
Way you can negate this is by spreading culture, which is something we're going to work on soon. Culture will boost a planet's allegiance by up to 10%, which I think. Do we have any? No, we're going to want to build a trade thing here before we build anything else. So each of these planets, this, even though it's set at 70% right now, once it's under our cultural influence, we'll be able to boost it up to 80%, so that's fine. In games where you're not in a capital based game, now I set this to capital victory, which means I cannot move my capital, it's stuck here. And everybody has their capital planets still. In a non-capital occupation game, you'd be able to move your capital. Ideally, a great tactic on a multi-star game is to move your planet right next to a star, so right here. That way, when you take planets on other stars, they're not going to suffer a heavy allegiance hit for all the ticks it would take just to get to the star alone. But right now, we can't. Well, in this game, we're not going to be able to change our capital, so it's just going to have to be something we're going to deal with, which is fine. There are other ways of keeping a planet under your control. Now, eventually, when a planet falls, if they were to spread their culture to us, and a planet were to fall heavily under the enemy culture, which the Advent are amazing at culture, it may rise up and revolt against you, and it would join the other faction. That would be bad for us. So a good tactic for the Advent right here, because I've kind of overextended to them, would be to focus on building up culture and beat me back culturally, because I'm going to quickly become too hard to take by military force. Once my planet flips, all these structures will remain here, but I will not be able to build anymore, which means I would not be able to support this planet. Now, I would still be able to jump ships in, and there might be a whole scuffle there for it, but I wouldn't be getting any resources, I wouldn't be getting any yield from that planet, would not be able to construct anything on that planet. I even think that my repair platforms would not build up antimatter while under the enemy's influence. I'm not sure about that. I won't quote me on that. I'm sure there's plenty of Sins of a Solar Empire experts going, "Ah, you fool! It doesn't work that way." But I think it does. But that's okay. So, as I mentioned before, we're kind of reached the furthest extent of our empire. Now we're going to focus a little bit more on research, a little bit more on making money. As a matter of fact, let's trade. Let's check our trade. Yeah, so this will create the main trade network as the largest stretch of planets connecting your capital. So eventually it'll probably extend to here, but for now, as a matter of fact, let's build a trade station up here. And a couple more defensive platforms, because we can swing it. You just don't want them to send an early raid on that planet. Let's add another defensive structure slot. Now, is there any planets that we're losing credits off of? Yes. Our one volcanic planet, which I already put 1 tick in, but because it's a larger planet, it's going to need 2. Terrans are not really meant to be on volcanic planets, so it's hard for them to create a route there. This is weird for me. Normally, there's ice planets. More, from my experience, there's more ice planets than volcanic planets. As a matter of fact, you'll notice here 1, 2, 3, 4 ice planets. Oh, there's 4 volcanic planets too. Well, I'm a jerk. Normally, from my experience, there haven't been as many volcanic planets as ice planets. As a matter of fact, this system is relatively devoid of desert planets.
Complete.
The only desert planet seems to be in the control of the Alexian Resurgence. I love desert planets. Desert planets have a huge amount of logistic slots in them, which governs, I've been saying these slots all the time, logistic slots governs the amount of logistic structures that you can build there. So like the Civic Research Station. So things such as an asteroid, they're not going to have as many logistic slots, but a Terran planet, and especially a desert planet, have a good number of logistic slots, which is okay. Oh no, okay, the pirates are just kind of making their way back because they're done raiding. They're making their way back for the next venture. So yeah, pirates are a really tough early game harassment tool. It's a way of... It's really a great way to allow a turtling player that's been focused on economy to still have that early game harass that a rusher might have without actually having to invest in building the ships. We would not be able to field this many ships right now. The reason being, this is our ship cap. Each one of those light frigates costs 5, so we can only field about 3 more of them. Now we would increase that by researching fleet logistics into our provisions. However, when you invest in a tick of it, you can see right there on the side the upkeep increases from 9%.
A new colony has been founded.
Each tick you take in it, you will increase the amount of upkeep that your fleet costs, all the way up to 75% of your income. Right now, we want to focus on building up a vast amount of resources, so taking that upkeep hit, even 9%, in my opinion, is not worth it. Not when you can build defensive structures without the cost to our upkeep, which can supplement the lack of a fleet. Now, eventually, we'll reach a point where static defenses alone are not going to be enough to hold a dedicated fleet at bay, and we'll see that soon enough. True static defenses are meant to be something that delays an attack until your main fleet can arrive to fight back the invaders. They're not meant to be a effective defense permanently. But early on, as you can see with the pirates, we were able to, with just keeping up about 5 of those platforms at any one time, we're able to keep them there, keep them tied down, keep them from wreaking any sort of significant damage. So it doesn't take much in the early game. In the late game, it'll take a lot. It'll take star bases, all of the defensive platforms, and even then, they will not be enough. The nice thing about the Loyalists, they're a supreme turtling faction. One of their end game research ticks allows them to build... Most factions are limited to 1 starbase per planet, and up to 4 in a star. The Loyalists for the TEC, and they're the only faction that gets this ability,
phase jump complete.
When they research it in the specific research tick, they'll be able to build up to 2, which it doesn't sound like much. Trust me, that's huge. Most fleets are able to wipe out a single starbase with a good bit of effort. But they'll take heavy casualties. 2, and if you build them right to repair each other and deal out a lot of damage, that's going to be tough nut to crack, man. And I love it. I love watching just fleets upon fleets of ships just crash like waves against my star bases. I'm not a hyper-aggressive kind of player in this games, which for some of you might be rolling your eyes and being like, oh man, this game is just going to take 10 times as long because this guy is just going to turtle. Yep, I turtle. I turtle and then I steamroll. Eventually I'll have some massive fleets that are well organized, well equipped to take on these guys. As a matter of fact, after I take care of our pirate buddies there, and I might even leave them there just to continually be a stopgap there while I handle the Prophets of Zay. So as a matter of fact, the Prophets of Zay manhandled the prophet, or were manhandled, I should say, by the pirates so well that the pirates used up all of the bounty I had on them. The bounty is actually can be given to players if the players see the bounty. Like, for example, the Alexian Resurgence has 212 credits placed on them right now. If I were to go and attack the Alexian Resurgence and actually do damage to them, I would actually start making some of those credits. So you can actually be a bounty hunter in this game. You can snipe people. It's not exactly cost effective unless you were raiding trade networks and stuff like that, which you can do with just a few smattering of ships. You can actually raid trade networks. But we're not going to do that. We are relying on trade. Ideally, we can get trade treaties with each of these factions. But for now, we're going to focus on hiding behind our defensive structures and being nice little faction. Not going to harass them. We might throw pirates at them here and there, but they won't know about that, right? We're going to be anonymous. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to want these guys to be strong. I do. And I still plan on focusing my efforts on the Prophets of Zay. But, and this is a big but, the AI can stab you in the back. And I don't want these guys to become so strong that they actually overwhelm me. Now, even though I might be their ally, if they need to expand and I'm on the chopping block, they may not hesitate to end the alliance that we have and start attacking me. So I want to keep myself the bigger kid on the block here. Now, I can use them to my means. I will use their fleets to supplement mine. I probably won't backstab them. I really don't need these planets, but the AI is nefarious. They'll backstab us at every turn, so we can't trust them. So I brought my fleet back. We're going to take our last planet available to us. Let's just make sure everything's in the black. Not making much crystal. Hopefully we'll be able to supplement that here. Ice planets have a lot of crystal. Unfortunately, this one only has 2. The Prophets of Zay are going to be making a lot of crystal. Yeah, assuming that the Alexian Resurgence hasn't fought them for it, they're going to get Gendra and Cibrione? I don't know. If they do, they're going to get stacks of 4 crystal asteroids on each of them, which is going to give them lots of crystal output. But we're going to supplement that with our own metal output. This one's has 3 that we can get from. This one has only 2. It's not great. We've kind of gotten the shaft as far as the yield on our planets here, but that's okay. We'll build up some refineries and hopefully maximize out. As a matter of fact, on that note, let's invest a little bit in some better metal research. We'll take a point there too, and some sidear too. You know what? Let's research all the things, right? We'll put a tick into corvettes, and we will immediately start researching the first tier of our Titan. Eventually, we'll be able to field a Titan. The Loyalist Titan for the TEC is one of my favorite Titans. It looks like a giant flying castle, man, and I love it to death. It can just take the damage and buff your fleet and keep everyone alive. And the Rebels have a cool one too. The Rebels for the TC have what is essentially a giant flying railgun. If anybody here has played Star Wars Empire at War and they're familiar with the Forces of Corruption expansion, I may actually do an LP of that later on. Stay tuned for that if that happens. But it's like the Consortium's version of the giant flying gun that they have. This thing will shoot a giant rail laser that will annihilate ships, man. It can one-shot some low-level capital ships if you are not careful. So that thing will hurt. It can also snipe your star bases from afar. It can stay out of a star base's range and hit it with its main gun. So one of the big reasons why we're going to want to be friends with this guy. As a matter of fact, let's check diplomacy. We haven't really changed much. Prophets of Zay we've actually become a little more friendly with. I'm not really sure how. Definitely not with the role of Sobare. Again, that's okay. We got these guys here protecting us for now. So something we may want to invest in, since we have some of the fleet supply for it, is sending some envoys to the to our TEC brethren to the east. Try and foster a good relationship. Envoys are a type of cruiser that you can send. They don't really have any attacking abilities, they don't have any weapons to mention, but their primary role is the longer they spend at a planet, the longer they'll actually develop a kind of a relationship bonus from being there, on top of having various abilities that kind of buff that planet. So guys, if you're ever playing a game with friends, it's a multiplayer game, you're on a team, don't forget to send envoys. Now when you're playing with a friend, the diplomacy thing kind of goes out the window. You don't need diplomacy points to agree to have a ceasefire with one another or a trade agreement with one another. But in a game like this, those ships will actually also do things like boosting population or boosting credit income, which is good stuff. So don't forget to send that stuff there. Having that buff on each of the planets can really add up, and it's really not that big of a hit to your fleet supply. Now, it might be early on, but I think it'll pay better dividends than some people give it credit for. This is a multiplayer game. You can play this multiplayer. As you might expect, it's a long game, so don't expect to be able to play an entire game in one sitting. Even on the smaller maps, it can take a while. It can take hours. Even if you're just going balls to the walls, kill as many things as you can, and believe me, my friends have done it, it'll still take a few hours. But fortunately, this game does have a save feature in multiplayer, so you would be able to save, load back in, continue game at a later date. Multiplayer is fun. Originally, in the original the original Sins of a Solar Empire game, there was a lot of syncing issues between games. Games would desync, and it was a rough time. Now they seem that mostly seems to have gone the way of the caveman. The most recent multiplayer game I played on this was a pleasant experience, and everything went just a-okay. Let's put a military research lab, and we'll invest one tick in there and build a civic one as well. And let's build a military research lab here as well. Just get up to a good research pace. See what we can research. Range increase, yeah, let's take it. Ooh, and we can build that and trade. This will give us access to start bases, so you guys can see just those big guys. We'll take a tick in interstellar research. Now, as you can see, I can queue up a lot of research. I'll take a point there. I will take a point in ice planet colonization, since we're about to colonize one. As you can see, it can only research one thing at a time, so you can barely see the little yellow bar right there at the top. Once that goes on, it goes up to the next research I have queued. So it's okay to, hey, I've got, I'm sitting on a bunch of credits and a bunch of resources. Matter of fact, let's buy some. Let's crash the market on metal. The market does actually have a boom and crash thing. As you can see, the market for metal has crashed. It means someone sold so much metal that the general cost of it went down. If you buy a lot of metal, it'll be booming. So you can actually, if you really wanted to min-max this game, man, and you knew that, so if I knew that this guy was, really had an abundance of crystal, more than he needed, and you really don't need much. Crystal's primarily used for research. It's used for ships a little bit, but mostly used in research. So let's say, man, he does not making much credits, not making much metal. He doesn't need the crystal. He wants credits to buy some metal, buy some other resources, so he needs to sell it. I could influence the market against him by selling enough crystal to crash the market in it, so he would not be getting effective dividends on the crystal that he would be selling. So if you really wanted to min-max this game, you could do stuff like that. Let's queue up 2 of these. We'll send them each to our fortress worlds. Does every planet that we have a trade thing? That one does. We can't build one here. This one does Tradeport, Tradeport, Tradeport. This one
Research
doesn't.
complete.
Haha! Credits everywhere. Ruthless capitalism. And we'll be able to build this. I took a research tick in it. It's our broadcast center. So I hope you guys are enjoying this so far.
Research complete.
This is, I've been considering doing LPs for a while.
Reporting in.
Kind of been going back and forth on whether or not I should. I've had capture software for a while. As a matter of fact, I actually did a couple LPs with another LPer. Goes by the name of Envision Revelations. He did a lot of Towns LPs. And I had a good time with it. Playing with him, recording it, putting it up on YouTube. It was actually going up on his page. When we had some difficulties because he lives all the way out in Texas, and he's kind of in the backwater area of Texas where he doesn't really get good internet. So we'd have some laggy games. We actually did a dual play of Sins of a Solar Empire that went a little okay, but didn't turn out too great. But we had fun with it. We had a blast, and that's that's why I'm doing this. I know there's some. I know LP is a saturated market, man. I know there are a lot of LPers out there, even for kind of more obscure games like this, like Sins of a Solar Empire. It's a saturated market, and I understand that, and I know some guys make a living off of LPs. You're gonna have those guys like CNanners out there who does a lot of video game footage, or Hutch, the Machinima guys. The guys who get lots of views, they make a living off this. I actually have a full-time job, so I don't need I'm not gonna do the like, comment, and subscribe. I don't need the views to make a living. I don't need to be that kind of guy. But I am interested in making this. I'm interested in having a fun time. And, as this gains viewership, if it gains viewership, I would value you guys. If you guys are enjoying it, if you guys are giving me feedback, if you guys are following me following along, having a good time, we're all kind of in this together, as you guys as the viewers and the audience, and me as the host and as the player. I'm not one to slap that relationship in the face. I'm cognizant of that. I'm an entertainment professional. I work in the multimedia industry, so I'm aware of the interaction and the relationship between audience and the product that I am giving, in this case, a show. So at the end of the day, I'm doing this for fun. But if you guys are enjoying it and I can make it more enjoyable for you guys, that's great. So, feel free, if you watch this and you've got an opinion to share and you're going to be constructive about it and not be mean-spirited. I know YouTube could be a mean-spirited place, but if you've got some constructive criticism, or you've got some feedback, or you just want to say, hey, man, I'm enjoying it, by all means, please leave a comment. Please don't, do not hesitate to get in touch with me. I would be elated to hear, someone liked my video, someone watched these videos. I'm not expecting more than a couple hundred views tops on these things. So if I get more than that, great, man. That'd be awesome. Anyway, I think we're coming up to about the end here. Yep.
Research complete.
So I want to thank all you guys for watching, and stay tuned for part 4.